One thing I'm noticing is here off the back of the feather, coming off the way the skull is, I don't like this bump in the back. And I think I want to reduce that. It seems to be a little bit out of balance when looking at the general shape of the skull and wings. So I'm going to go ahead and do that by reducing the wing by this feather here and then adjusting this feather over here. And I'll go ahead and double click on this. I'll get my shape tool. And I'm going to go ahead and click off here, double click again. Now I'll get my shape tool, bring this feather over. Now you can see that that resized a little bit there on me, but I can tweak that. Now this shape is a little bit tough on this feather, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this node here. Go to my artistic media tool and we'll resize just a bit there. And then I'll go ahead and go to my pick tool again here. Double click, get this node here and bring this feather up into there just a little bit so that it fits in there just a bit better, and then bring this down this way. Move this node over and just tuck that feather right in there. And then we can bring this point back out here a little bit and adjust right there. And then we'll zoom back out. Now we can see that that's not quite as much of a bump there in the back of the skull, and the wing shape fits better with the skull. Now, having completed this part of the feather setup, and I'm happy with this, obviously going to process a save. Then I'm going to take a look at bringing some elements in here to the skull to kind of make like a war bonnet or something like that. And I think I'll use barbed wire for that. Go ahead and move my logo over and just work directly in this element of the skull with the feathers coming off the back. I'm going to go back to my pen tool, go to artistic media here, and I'm going to go to my folders, and I want to go to barbed wire. I'm not sure if I want to go with barbed wire or thorns, but I can take a look at it either way. And I think actually I'll do some thorns here, and maybe I can use barbed wire later. So I'll come down here to my thorns pack, and I'm going to go ahead and just grab some different thorns here. And I'll bet you I just had something selected there. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but it was probably the skull. You want to be really careful when you're working with these. And yes, I had the logo selected and I applied that brush to the logo. I saw that processing. You want to be really careful when you're working with the brushes that you don't have things selected when you select a brush, because Corel will apply that brush to what you have selected. If I had this whole thing selected and applied a brush to it, one of those feathers, I'd be sitting here processing for half an hour. And I don't want that to happen, so I want to make sure I don't have anything selected when I start clicking on brushes and draw. But looking at what we've got here with this skull, I'm going to go ahead and just see what these thorns look like here. And these actually look pretty good right here. So what I want to do is start off here, off the side of the skull. I probably want to bring this down in size just a little bit. And just come in right off here, kind of arched into the skull, and off to one side, and then follow what's going on with the wings. Actually, probably want to be a little bit bigger. Might have gone a little too small with that. And just start creating these thorns to offset or to build kind of like a bonnet for the wings to go in here. Now, here we go again. You can see we're creating a lot of detail and a lot of objects very easily and very quickly. And I want to come in here and probably create something like that just to get something going on out there. Now I'm going to double click on that and bring this out. So we've got some thorns coming out along the top of the skull, kind of make it look like the thorns are coming off the side and wrapping around. Now once I've got these drawn, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this, I can see I've got a node right here. I'm going to bring this over this way just a bit. There we go. So now I've got my thorn bonnet set up. Probably want to do some tweaking with these feathers here. Now that I've got that set up there, I want to bring this feather down in size, make sure I've got that selected. Bring that down in size just a little bit. Double click on that, get that node that's going here, and bring that right up here into my war bonnet, into the bonnet or the front of the bonnet right there, and then start reshaping this just a little bit to fit what's going on with the thorns. Now with these thorns being set up here, we'll zoom out and take a look at what we've got, and that's a pretty nice setup. Now I can do a lot of different things with these, and one of the things I can do is I can tweak this. I can select everything even though it's brushes, and I'm going to hold down shift and click on my skull here so that I deselect that. click that off here, and then just see if we pull this down here a little bit and arch this up a little bit, see what type of look we start getting. I'm going to hit Control Z, click on this again, and arch this way. Let that process, and then I can reposition onto my skull here so it's kind of balanced with the flow of the skull relating to everything that's going on with my brushes. Now once I've completed something like this, I'll typically want to save it, and I'm going to bring this and arch it up even more and break these brushes apart at this point, because we're going to be using a lot of system resources in Draw with all of these different brushes on here. So what I'm going to do is, you can see now I've changed all of that, and I'm happy with that, but I want to make some adjustments to what's going on with my wings. So what I want to really do at this point is just go ahead and copy this, Control C, and save a copy of this before I go forward, because it's very complex and I don't want to go forward and lose all of this work. So I'll hit Control V, and I'm just going to save this as skull wing setup. So I'll go File, Save As, go to my desktop, and I'll just call this skull setup. And save. And close that. Now I've got a backup of that if I need it, because I'm going to go ahead and start breaking all of this apart now and start doing some different things with it. Or if I decide to break it apart, I'll have a copy of it. Or if Corel crashes, I'll have a copy of it. I don't really think I want to start breaking this apart at this point, but I like to, when I'm working with designs this complex in Draw, actually save things as I go so that I've got them for later. Now looking at all of these thorns here, I can do some different things. I might want to bring some detail out of these thorns here. One of the things I can do, if I've got them all selected, and I've got just about all of them anyway, go down here and make sure we got everything. So I'm going to give these a white fill, and I'll come here to my pen tool and give these a pen outline. Click on this, make sure we got that selected, go to pen here, go with 2mm behind fill, and that's a little bit too much. I'll go to 1mm behind fill, and what I want to do is go to my advanced tools here, take my nib, but I want to tilt this a little bit because I don't want to have a perfectly fluid outline all the way around. Now that I've got these set up, going around like that, that really brings out what's going on with the thorns. We can zoom in there and take a look. You can see that really brings out the detail of the thorns there by putting that outline in there. Anything I see that I really need to deal with, I can see a couple of things in here I want to address. One of them being this particular set of thorns here. I want to bring this down into the bonnet more, so these aren't quite so scrunched up and crunched up. And I want to bring this end that's over here out here just a bit, so we get some more detail going on there. I can pull this out and arch it just a bit more. Come down to this set down here on the bottom, pick tool, double click, change to my shape tool, bring that up in there and tweak that just a little bit. This feather I can see is coming down here. I believe I really want to arch this out a little bit to have it follow the shape of the skull more closely. And then we'll bring that in down there, and we'll bring this up and arch that just a bit more and bring this back over this way. Change what's going on there. I'm going to do the same thing here. Bring this feather over that way, arch it like that. I'm going to go back to my artistic media and resize that just a bit. I went way too far down. Now I'm going to zoom out and take a look. Now I'm pretty much happy with this, and I'll be able to make the look that I want. The only thing I've got to deal with really is I want these feathers to come down in here more. I don't want this swooping. I want it to come in more of this direction. But what I'll do for that is I'll just go ahead and select all these left clicking, holding down shift, and I'll work with all of these at the same time. Click one more time, left click, hold down, move these in, and tuck them in here. That's going to require a change of this feather, pick tool, double click, and we'll just arch this in this way, move this over a bit. You can see that destroyed our brush. We got it back there. And I might want to bring this down just a little bit shape-wise. Control Z, accidentally deleted that node. I just want to move that right over there. Now, been working on this for a while, getting into a lot of detail, but if you were to try and hand draw something like this or create this in vector, you'd be in here for hours doing it. And I'm happy with this at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and process a save. And we'll say that our skull and wings are set up here. Now, once this is set up and I've got this in here, I can go into something like my skull that I've got set up here, and I can start to add some more detail to that. I'm going to go to my brushes. I want to add just a little bit more detail up along the front of the skull. It's just a big white area here. I'm going to go to my, let me see, ink effects, select OK. I'm going to come on, create a line here, make sure I've got nothing selected. Let's see which ink brush we want to go with. That's not really the one I'm looking for. And I'm going to need to come down in size here considerably. And these are just some brushes I do inking with that I can add some detail to what's going on here with. And if I bring that down quite a bit to right about 8, we'll say 0.5, I can just bring some more detail in here. I want to bring some shading probably like right up through here and give this Indian a warrior look. Actually, that's a really good idea. Give him like some warrior markings on his skull, something that an Indian would have or something like that. So I can do that very effectively with these brushes, and actually what I'll do is I'm going to change the size of this brush there and just give him some like Indian warrior markings that you might see on an Indian, something like that, something like that, and something like this over here, and something like the same there. And we would actually bring in something down here underneath the eye, kind of like that. Just interesting to see what something like that might look like. Now, having that set up, we'll call that good to go. I might change that later, I don't know, but it's just kind of an interesting look. Go ahead, and at this point I'll probably want to start working with the logo, but knowing that I've got all this coming down through here, what I want to do is bring some detail and some effects down into these brushes. And what I'm going to use for that is I've got some watercolor brushes I really like to work with, so I'm going to go in here, go back to my brushes. I'll go to Destroyed Watercolor here, and I'm just going to create a brush, and then we'll come down here and see which one of these we want to work with. We need to change the size here so I can see the detail of these brushes. These come in as blue, but you can change the colors of them. Is that the brush I want? I don't think so. Is that the brush I want? No, that's not the brush I want. I think I'll go with this brush here. Now I'm going to make it a bit smaller, and we'll go down to, let's say, 0.15, and all we'll do is we'll just come along the feathers here and just put some shading in there. Change that to a black, and we take that border, go to back of page. As you can see, that just creates some shading coming in off the feathers, some kind of distressed dark shading. Now if I wanted to, I could do that through the entire feather set, and I could take this and go order and to back of page, but I'll start getting really complicated when I do that. And actually I don't want this to back of page. I'm going to hit Control Z. I want that there. I want this order and to back of page. Now I've got this set up as shading here, but I can also come in with my brush and start shading right down along my feathers. And we'll change that to that watercolor brush we were working with, which I believe was that one right down here at the bottom. Change that to a black, and I can go ahead and click on this, change the length of that stroke. Take that, right click on it, order, and go behind, select this feather, and you can see now I'm going to get a nice soft look in there. Now I might want to go with a gray instead of a black right there. Now working our way through here, that type of look is going to be really interesting, so I'm going to follow along with that and just start up here and come through. Now because of the length of the stroke, I'm going to have to put down multiple strokes along the feather because I don't want to go so long that I totally destroy the stroke. So it looks like it's going to take about 3 or 4 strokes per feather. And we'll right click on that, order, and go behind, select this feather here, and that's sending that to the back. Now let's zoom out and take a look and see how that's affecting our design. You can see that's creating a nice off-the-wall look. It's really setting these feathers out, so I'm going to follow along with that. Now I can do this with my brush tool, or I can do it very simply with the Bezier tool. Just come here and lay down a line segment, and then go back to my Artistic Media Docker, click on that, and change it to black. Go back to my Bezier tool, lay another line segment, click on that, change it to black. I want to move over here just a bit, and then follow the same with the Bezier tool. I'm going to go ahead and work with the brush and just go ahead and work my way through here. So I want to come in through here, 1, start right about there, 2, and then come back in 3 and stop here at the end of the brush. I'll go ahead and select all 3 of these holding down Shift, change those to black, right click, order, and behind, click on this feather and send those back. And you can see how that's working. Now this one here, what did I get for detail on here? Let's take a look at this. And I want to make sure we went behind there, and it doesn't look like we did. So I want to click on that, click off, click on that, see what I'm getting here. I've got these set up, and I'm going to hit Control Z and go back. And then I'm going to hit Shift Control Z and recreate my strokes and send them to the back one at a time. Go ahead and zoom out and see what we've got here, what's happened, what's occurred here. Okay, we've got these, somehow, occasionally Corel will set these brushes together when you go around changing your orders and their layers. So I want to hit Control Z, go ahead and get rid of that, click up here, make sure I've got just that. And I'm going to go ahead and create these again. When you see that what Corel has done, it's having some confusion on the layers. Change this to a black. Let's change the length of this. Bring it right down in through here. Bring this right back up there. And I've got a control arm here instead of a node. And I'll go ahead and take this, right click, order, and I'm going to select behind and click on this brush down here. Now it's gone to the back. Zoom in and take a look at that. And if I come here and click on this, I'll get that. And I can change this. I'm getting really complex here, but for the moment I'm going to go back to my mouse just so I can see exactly what I'm dealing with. Go double click here, double click on that brush, change to a shape tool, and I want to bring that out along the side here so it's not all behind the brush. What I'll do is actually delete that node right there, and I'll zoom in here and take a look. I'm going to change my color to blue just so I can see, or red just so I can see a little bit better what I'm dealing with here. Got another node here, and that's changing the shape, and I want to bring this right down in, there we go, right along that feather, and change that to a black. And that's just putting some detail in between those feathers and bringing out the design. You know, we're going for this MMA look. If you're trying to design this by hand, you'd be all set, but I'm going to go back to my brush tool, and at this point I'll just come right down along here, and we'll change that to a black also, and I'll right click on that, order, behind, come down and click on this feather, all set there, and we got some nice shading, distressed grunge shading going in. And click off, and I can see I've got this feather here, really don't need any detail there, probably bring some in right here at the top, change that to black. Don't have to do the whole feather, just areas of it. Right click, I don't want to copy, order, and go to behind, click on this feather. Got a nice effect there. And we'll go back to my brush tool, probably want some of that right here. Just adding a little bit of shading to give some depth to the feathers. Order, and this time I'll go in front of, come down, and I know that this is the feather I want to be in front of there, so click there, and that'll reposition into there. Wanted to put some more shading in this and spend some more time with it, I could, but that gives us some nice detail off the side of our feather, some shading to bring that out. And you can do some more of that also up here across the top. Go ahead and process a save here. Now at this point I want to start building some other things into this design. I'm going to go ahead and close my dockers here. And I'll go ahead and take this particular design that I've set up here, and I want to make sure I've got that saved. And the next thing I want to do is start taking a look at how I'm going to work with my logo, which I'll bring that in here. That way. Now this logo is set up so it can really kind of fit to what's going on with these skulls. Go ahead and process another save just to make sure I've got that all saved. And I can bring this over here now. I'm going to hold down Control, right click, move, release, copy here. Then I'll come up here and mirror that in. And we can see what we got here. Now this brush here got some confusion when it got moved, and some of that happens when you get really detailed with this stuff in Draw. So at this point, now that I've got all of this set up, I'm going to go ahead and break apart. So I'm going to take my brush here, I'm going to copy this again because I want this set up, and I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here, Control V, and I'm going to save this setup in case I want to edit. So I'm going to File, Save As. I'll come back down here to my skull setup and save this. Yes, now I've got a backup of that rigged on brushes if I want to come back to it later. I'm going to go ahead and close this for now. Come back here. I'm going to right click on this, and it's going to ask me if I want to break apart all of these artistic media. So hold down Shift, deselect the skull, go to Arrange, 62 brushes. I'm going to go ahead and break those apart. Now that that's done, I'm going to go to Simple Steps because I don't want to go through there trying to pick apart all these different parts. I'm going to go to Simple Steps. I'm going to create a palette. I've only got these colors here. I'm going to select all of these. I know that what's left from the brushes is just wireframes. So I want to select anything that's got any one of these fills. So I'm going to come down to Select Objects based on color properties. I'm going to select these objects based on fills and click on Select Objects. I just selected 1,418 objects. I'm going to go ahead and take these, move these off all to one side. And you can see there is all of the wireframes from my brush strokes. Now here what I've got to do is we've got a wireframe attached to a brush stroke here. If I select everything here, I've got everything that I can move here. I'm going to come down through everything here. I want to start deleting all of these lines and wire nodes here and get rid of these. Now I'm going off the charts with the detail in these brushes, and I want to take this apart so that now I'm just dealing with vector objects and not all these brushes, because when you get with this much objects, over 1,000 objects in Corel hooked up to these brushes, Corel starts to have issues dealing with them. So we'll delete all of that. I'm going to select everything here. And I think I might have missed a few objects here. Let's see if there's some objects set up on wireframes or not. I'll take this here. I'm going to move all of this. This here I'll ungroup. Select Ungroup All. Now this is hooked up to something here. It's probably hooked up to a wireframe. If I go to View Wireframe, take a look, yes it is. So what I want to do is just go ahead and select these two wireframes and delete that. and we won't have to deal with that anymore. Let me see, hit Control Z here. I wonder if I can break that apart with that selected. If I click on this brush, arrange, break artistic media group apart, and that's what I did. That wasn't quite broken apart. So I'm going to bring this back over. I'm going to hit Control Z. I'm going to go to View and Enhanced and see what's going on here with the rest of this design. If I go ahead and select everything here, go to Arrange, and we start moving stuff here again. Now we've got everything set up here. But what are we dealing with over here? I see an object, View, Wireframe. I see some small objects here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete these. I want to select everything in here, move all of this again. See what we're dealing with here. We've got some spare points that came off of what was being set up with these designs. You can see them in here. But I think for now, for the moment, I'm going to go to View and Enhanced. This I'll go ahead and delete, and then I'll go ahead and select all of this and see if I move this, if I get everything. And I can see there's some points set up here, so what I'll do is take and cut these objects. Now this is very complex, and I'm seeing me work through my problem solving here, but Arrange, and I want to go to View, Wireframe, see what we're dealing with here on this. I'm going to select Ungroup All, and do the same thing here, Ungroup All. I'm going to do the same thing here, Ungroup All. Now I can go through here, select all of this, take these brushes, group these again, go ahead and paste the rest of that in. Now there was some extra data left over. Go to View and Enhanced. Take a look here, and everything seems to be good to go. The only thing I've got to deal with, I've got to bring this brush order back to the front order in front of, and I want that to be in front of this. And there we go. Now what I've got to do is I've got to come back in here, grab everything that was in this brush, order, and select in front of, and then click on this brush now. There we go. Now I can see I've got an issue because I'm going to go ahead and ungroup here because of what was done when I was dealing with that other brush. And this here is, I think, those multiple brushes that I grouped up. Yes, it is. So what I want to do at this point is go ahead and ungroup here. I'll just come through here and lasso everything, all the vector objects in this feather, which I'll start off one side, come down through here so that I get all of this. I want to let this go. I don't want that, and I don't want that from the other feather. Click here, that'll give me this. Now you can see I've got all this detail here, but I still got that black background that's set up behind that feather. So I'm going to get this white, and I'll hold down Shift and Alt. That'll give me the black also, and this feather will remain separate, and I can group this. Then these two are fine. I can go ahead and group these. I'll bring these two back into my design, which they go here. Right in there. Then I want to bring this one right in here. Now this is a really complicated, complex design. Yes, it is. But I'll take this right there. I'll select Order, and I'll go in front of, click on one of these brushes here, and now I've got that fixed. A little complicated there, but you want to design at this level, you're going to have to be able to work through problem solving no matter what graphics application you're working with. Go ahead and select everything here. This is all set up. We'll group here, and we'll bring this over here and put it back on top of our skull. And this is set up now without any issues. and we'll be able to work with this design the way it is. Now sometimes I have these issues, sometimes I don't. Where I created the problem was when I started doing the shading, then I came in these feathers, and I probably should have taken a different approach to the way I did that. Probably would have been smart to lay down those brush strokes, then break them off the artistic media, and then put them into the feathers. And I'll go ahead now and we'll get started working on our logo.